Well, hey y'all, it's been about 8.5 hours since I got my upper nostrils pierced. So far so good. I'm sneezing a teeny bit and struggling to yawn a little bit, but I managed to crack one yawn, which is awesome. I remember the very first nostril piercing I got, I couldn't yawn for like 2 days and it was so frustrating, so I think I'm gonna be fine. I'll answer a couple of questions I've received. The actual stab on each side was very painful, more painful than these lower ones, to the point where my emotions just took over and I really wanted to cry. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, this is really weird, I feel like I want to cry. But then I just breathed and I said, hold on, I just need a moment before I asked the piercer to swap out for the jewelry. So they pierce it with like a needle in a tube, and then they put the jewelry into the tube and then pull it through. So before we did the pulling through, I just asked to take a moment and breathe it out for like 30 to 60 seconds, and then my emotions dissipated and then I was ready. And then, yeah, like the changing of the jewelry, it hurt a little bit, but it wasn't nearly as bad as the actual piercing. It was fine. And then it was like kind of a throbbing pain for a wee while, probably like 20 minutes or something. And then after that, it's like I can't even feel it unless I scrunch my nose. Like, I can only really do that much before it starts hurting, so I'm not going to push it. Or if I like squeeze in my nostrils and pull my nose down, that is painful too. So obviously there's a fair amount of swelling, and I can feel, like if I lift my eyebrows, I can feel a bit of sensitivity up here, not pain. I can just like, I'm just aware of that area of my face, and I'm aware of this part of my nose as well. So there's sensitivity all the way down, but pain really just at the site of the piercings. This is obviously a very extreme look. So what happened was I actually wanted small spikes, but both of the smaller sizes they didn't have. And I was like, I could just get like a little flat disc, or I could just go bold and get giant spikes. Like, why the fuck not? So that's what I did. It does look intense though. It's not gonna stay this way. Once they're healed, I have a plan to change it out for different jewelry. So this is just like for a bit of fun. And if I struggle to like sleep with these giant things in my face, then I'll just go to the piercer and ask them to put some more sensible ones in. But this is what I got for the time being, and it's pretty fun, to be honest. I'm really stoked with it. So here I am on day 2. It's been 52 hours since I was pierced, so just over 2 days. Last night the piercings got so swollen, or I guess I should say my nose got so swollen, that the spike on this side popped off. It was just kind of like hanging by a little bit of goop, which is disgusting, but I'm glad that it didn't actually fall off. So I like happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh, that's a weird angle. Went to check in the mirror, and yeah, it had become unscrewed, and so I had to like force it back on there and kind of like squeeze my nose a bit to get it on, because it was like midnight and there was no way that I could go and get it fixed at that time. So I just had to hope that it would stay on while I slept, and thankfully it did. And this one was starting to grow over as well, and it was bad. So I had to take the morning off work, go into the piercer this morning to get them to replace the jewelry with longer posts and change from spikes to balls. What I also didn't realize at the time was that the spikes were externally threaded, so I asked for internally threaded, which they did. So now hopefully, yeah, there's more room for them to breathe. It's still really angry and red looking. The changing process was so painful. Was it more painful than the actual piercing? Not necessarily, I don't think. It's just that it was a prolonged pain, whereas like when the piercing pain hit, it was like ow for like several seconds, and then it was done. And then the changing of the jewelry on the day that I got the piercing done, it wasn't that bad. So it was prolonged pain this morning, and it was just like gritting my teeth through it. And because it's a double piercing, it's like I have to go through all of that twice. And because they're such fresh wounds, it was a whole thing. So it really wasn't ideal. I would really rather have not gone through that, but it's done now, and hopefully in the next few days the swelling will start to go down now that it can breathe, and I'm going to keep up with the aftercare. It's not the ideal look for me, the giant silver balls, but people at work, a couple of them saw them and they were like, whoa, does that go all the way through? So I was like, hey, if that's how it looks, I'll rock that badass look for a couple of days. Well, probably actually a few weeks, because I'm not going to change these for a while until they're healed. But yeah, you know, people will start to cotton on when I have conversations with them that these do not, in fact, go all the way through, that they are two separate piercings. Yeah, I'm pretty self-conscious of how giant and red and angry my nose is looking at the moment, so hopefully it won't be too much longer. Day 3, and the swelling has gone down a lot, still not completely, but I wouldn't expect it to this soon after everything. But I feel a lot better today. I'm able to smile without feeling anything. Yesterday, if I just smiled ever so slightly, it was like, ah. So that's new. Yeah, I can't feel any pain, can't feel any throbbing, unless I do a really pronounced like yawn or sneeze or something. I'm barely aware that they're there. There's now a little bit of space between the ball and my nose, so you can see a tiny bit of the posts. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to continue in that trajectory, hopefully. Day 4, and things are starting to improve considerably. Over the last few days, you may have noticed in my video updates that my nose was really oily. So usually I have an oily nose anyway. I have combination skin, which means that it's really dry, and therefore as a result, there is an overproduction of oil to compensate. So on the best of days, I even have to dab my nose occasionally. Just to keep it under control, which is annoying, but it's not the end of the world. However, these last few days, it's been like that on speed. Given the fact that my nose was extremely swollen and there was a lot of healing goodness being pumped into that area, there was just like a lot of oily liquid just sitting on my nose at all times. And so like I would dab it, and then shortly afterwards, maybe within half an hour, I would catch a glimpse of myself in the reflection of something and realize that it was just very shiny, very moist, and I was very self-conscious about it. I was already self-conscious about the swelling and these giant studs sticking out of my face and the red and the damage, but to then also have the extreme oil production was just a lot. So today, thankfully, that seems to have settled down throughout the day, and now it's back to its regular amount of oil. There's an ever so slight amount of shine. Obviously there's a bit of shine around the studs themselves, but that's just because I put a little bit of cleaning solution on them after my shower. But yeah, regular amount of oil elsewhere, which is a tolerable amount for me. I haven't been able to clean my nose in general much these last few days, and it's felt frustrating not to be able to exfoliate it and keep it nice and glowing and fresh. It's felt a little bit stale and yuck. Today I managed to, because the pain has diminished enough, do a little ever so slight exfoliation in areas that weren't too near the piercing. So I feel a little bit cleaner today. I feel a little bit more myself, which is really a huge bonus, because there's nothing worse than just feeling like an oily, dirty, swollen, red, bleeding mess. So today it's great. I feel back to my normal self. So much so that I actually have forgotten that the piercings are there, and occasionally went to maybe wipe my eye and bump it, or I went to clean something out of my nostril earlier while I was in the shower, and then I was like, oh, what am I doing? So it's not good that I'm less conscious to be careful of it now, so I have to try to remember. But it's great that I'm forgetting that it's there, because that means that the pain has almost gone. It's still there if I do really significant movements, and I can feel the posts touching the inside of my nose, which is a little bit scratchy and uncomfortable. I'm really looking forward to being able to change those in several weeks so that they can be shorter, because it's just not that comfortable right now. But yeah, obviously the swelling is still there to an extent, and we are so fresh, and I just had them changed 2 days ago. I do not want to go through that again anytime soon. But for day 4, the fact that things are cleaning up considerably, there's a little bit of redness still around each piercing hole, but the scabby bits had already detached from my skin, and I was able to very gently clean those off the jewelry this morning, and things are just starting to generally look and feel a lot more normal, natural, healthy. Things are going well. Today marks 1 week since I got my piercings, so we're on day 7 now, and I guess it would be day 5 of the post changing of the jewelry, which felt kind of like a re-piercing in a way. So I don't really know if my state of healing is equivalent to 5 days worth or 7 days worth because of that, but I'm just going to go by the date of my piercing. So I still have a bit of the post-shower foam on my piercings right now, and things are a lot more consistent now, which is why I'm not feeling the need to update every day. The piercings themselves are looking very healthy. There's still a little bit of dryness and crustiness around them from day to day, even after cleaning them. It's just a natural part of the healing though, I'm sure, and I'm trying not to pick at them or, interfere with that process, because that's the way of the body, healing itself and taking care of that. So only if it comes off naturally during the cleaning process happens, then, I deal with it. But otherwise, I just sort of try to leave it be. A couple of things I'm experiencing thus far. So I did say on day 2 or 3 that I was able to yawn pretty well. The thing is that I can yawn, but even a week post-piercing, I'm still realizing that it's not a full satisfying yawn. I'm able to sort of half yawn, sort of try to move my bottom jaw without scrunching my nose. It's not that satisfying, and I'm really looking forward to the day when I can get a full yawn back in, so I will update whenever that happens. But at this point, I'm still not able to fully yawn. So in comparison to getting only one nostril at a time and lower down, that only took me a couple of days before I was able to fully yawn again. So this is obviously a completely different experience, given that it's 2 piercings and they are both higher up in a more sensitive area. However, the all over sensitivity, swelling, and pain that I was experiencing in the first few days has almost completely diminished. The left side, which is, just as a reminder, the side that was closing over the jewelry in the first couple of days, that's taking a bit longer to heal because we had to sort of reopen that wound to get the jewelry out on Monday. So the swelling is still not completely down on that side, but it seems as though, for all intents and purposes, the right side swelling has completely faded, completely diminished. It may still be a little swollen, it's really hard to tell, but when I tip my head back and look in the mirror, I can tell that the left side is a little higher up than the right side. I was noticing it more dramatically 2 days ago. It's not quite so noticeable now, which is a great sign. But in terms of pain, I'm able to clean around on the areas of my nose where the piercings aren't. I'm able to sort of press them and clean them a little bit without feeling any pain or sensitivity. So that's huge and making me feel a lot more back to normal. I'm still being very careful not to touch the piercing sites, but what I also have noticed is if there's an ever so slight bump of the jewelry by accident, it doesn't seem to hurt unless it's more forceful, which I think I've only done once, and that was a few days ago now. If I'm rubbing my eye or something, I'm trying to go in like this, like from above or from the side rather than up this way. But if I do accidentally knock the jewelry very gently, I feel the sensation of the bump without any pain. So that's great. Huge improvements there. Cleaning the regular gunk from inside my nose, by which I mean snot, not the remnants of the piercing and the wound itself, but just regular cleaning and flushing out of the nose that you would otherwise do without piercings, is a little bit more challenging because of the jewelry and swelling in there. So what I've been doing, instead of utilizing any tools or fingers to remove those bits, I am just making sure to moisten it in the shower by way of steam and then do a blowout, and then that tends to be all I need to do to maintain clarity and an open airway. It's a little bit of a different process, but it's doable. I haven't noticed any challenges there after the first few days. The first few days I made sure not to do that, just to sort of let it be, and I felt quite blocked up. But since then it's been fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I managed a full uninhibited yawn this evening, no pain, and it felt amazing. I also then subsequently did a yawn with my nose cocked in a different way, like to the left or something, that made me feel a little sting. So I'm now noticing that I scrunch my nose in different directions, which I didn't know was a thing. I guess that sounds pretty logical. We are biological beings, with nuances in our behaviors and mannerisms, but there you go. I now will be more conscious of the direction in which I scrunch my nose while I yawn, so as to avoid as much pain as possible. But yay! My normalcy has returned, and it's a wonderful thing. It has now been 3 weeks since I was first pierced, and everything is going really well. My healing is continuing to progress without any hitch. For the most part, I'm very comfortable. I'm able to sleep in any position, and I have been for at least a week, if not a couple of weeks now, without any issues. And I'm a front sleeper, which means that it is likely that from time to time I'm sort of sleeping on the piercing or quite near it, and I don't notice it at all. That's not to say I'm not being careful, because I don't want to bump it, more than necessary, but usually I can still feel it when I touch it, and I don't notice, when I roll over in bed and I'm awake, I don't notice feeling that sensation. So I think I'm just, maybe the pillow doesn't quite touch it or something, but yeah, it's not an issue, which is great, because I honestly thought that was going to be one of the biggest issues I faced during the healing process, and it's not. I can sleep very soundly, which is just fantastic. I would say the only thing that still bothers me, and I'm pretty sure it's less to do with the stage of healing and more to do with just the jewelry being too long and obtrusive, is in the shower washing my face, or anytime I want to touch my face, anytime I want to touch my eyes or anything, I would usually just go directly up to my eyes this way, and I can't because I always knock them, and it doesn't hurt, it's just uncomfortable, and I also know that it's not ideal for the healing, again, to eradicate any chances of bumping it. So in the shower, sort of like having to wash around as much as I can without touching them, that's like time consuming and annoying. And then to splash water on my face, I kind of have to gently do this without touching it. Or what I've actually now started doing is, because I've got a really strong shower, which is great most of the time, but it's too strong to go directly onto my face. So I just turn it down a bit in terms of pressure, which means almost off. Thankfully, I've got one of those shower taps or faucets that the temperature doesn't change with the switching on. So I've set it to the right temperature, and then you pull it out or in for on and off. So I just sort of like push it back in a little bit, but not all the way, which lowers the pressure. And then I just sort of stand there and let it run on my face for a bit to wash off all the soap and get off any excess with my fingers that I need to. So that's a thing that I'm really looking forward to not having to deal with anymore. But given that I'm only 3 weeks in, it's going to be several more weeks before I can change the jewelry and I have to worry about that again. But I think generally that's the only thing. Once in the last 3 weeks, a dreadlock of mine got caught on it, but it wasn't the kind where I yanked it or anything. I just noticed that it was there, and so I gently removed it and it was fine, not an issue. Generally, I can swing my hair around, like if I'm towel drying it after washing it, when I'm doing exercises, stretching on the floor or anything like that. Again, not an issue. It has been 1 month since I got my nostrils pierced. And I've always found that in the early days of anything, be it a relationship, be it a new piercing, be it a tattoo, it always feels like the first week or the first month always takes a long time, and you're always thinking like, oh man, it's only been a few days. Oh, it's only been a few weeks. And then once you clock over that first week, once you clock over that first month, then you kind of just get back into your routine and you get used to having this new thing in your life. And that's why I'm excited to be at this milestone because it hasn't felt like it's taken that long to get through this month, but now I feel like another 2 months and I'll be able to change these preposterous things in my face. To be fair, again, apparently these aren't too obtrusive. Some people say that this look even suits me, which is very kind of them. And it could be worse, but I am even so very much looking forward to changing them. But as far as the first month has gone, obviously you've had all of my updates for the most part. The only thing I'll add really is that I've still noticed a little bit of tenderness. Like even though I've updated in the past saying that, oh, all my pain is gone, yes, but it kind of goes in fluctuations. Occasionally I'll like scrunch my nose and be like, oh, that's a little bit more tender today than it has been in the past. Or sometimes I get the random sting, which is very synonymous with when you drink a fizzy drink wrong and it kind of like hits you in the tip of the nose hole. Yeah, so I get that from time to time and it's just like, oh, and it's just like, it's that random, like, it's hit a nerve somewhere and it just needs time to dissipate for like a few seconds. But I would say that that's the only other thing that I'm still experiencing. Just a little bit of tenderness. I'm noticing that there's still a little bit of gunk on this one. So it's reacting or healing still in the early phase way that piercings do. But yeah, other than that, things are going well. Things are going smoothly. I just can't wait to get these off my face. Not even for aesthetic reasons, really. Like, yes, that would be great. But just because they're annoying and I keep wanting to do normal things with my hands and I can't because they're in the way. So that's my biggest gripe at the moment, is just they're just annoying. Other than that, everything's great. 1 month down, 2 to go. 2 days ago marked halfway through my piercing journey. That was the 6-week mark and I'm supposed to make it to the 12-week mark. I keep thinking in my mind it's 3 months, but it's actually a lot shy of 3 months because 12 weeks is not, in fact, 3 whole months. So yeah, I'm halfway already. And it just so happened that on that day, I happened to be out and about and I had a bit of extra time. I noticed that this ball was coming a little bit loose, so it was high time that I went to my piercer and asked her to tighten them, which she did. She tightened both of them, checked them, and they're all good. I did ask, is it possible to get them downsized because they're really annoying and I keep knocking them. I've only knocked them once really badly. Did I mention that already? I don't know if I've mentioned it. Last Saturday, so a week and a bit ago now, I was taking off my headphones from recording and just, you know how sometimes you don't have as good a grip on the headphones as you thought you had, and I just knocked it on the way off my face. And When I say painful, oh my goodness, I actually felt like it was going to bleed. It was that bad, but it didn't bleed. So it was just more painful than anything else. It swelled up a little bit and then it was fine for the rest of the night. So it could have been way worse, thankfully. But anyway, despite all that, yeah, I said that I've been knocking them and I would really like to get them downsized. She had a look and she said, unfortunately, I can still see some swelling. So just in case, I think it's best to keep them the size that they are. See how you go the next few weeks. If you notice a significant decrease in the swelling in the next week or so, then I'm happy to downsize for you. But otherwise, I would say just ride it out. So, I mean, I kind of expected that was going to be the case, but here we are, still going with these things. But hey, I'm halfway and it's actually not been nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I reckon I can do it. I've just hit the 9-week mark, and yesterday, a day before the 9-week mark, I visited a different piercer to ask if I could get these high nostrils downsized. And as you can probably see, we were successful. They said, yes, that's absolutely fine. They still gave me a little bit of room, so the posts haven't been shortened to be exactly flush against my skin. They allowed a little bit of room for swelling in the future, and also because the change was a very painful process, almost as if I was being re-pierced again, even though it's been 9 weeks. In fact, yeah, we just reached the 2-month mark yesterday. It was still very fresh, very painful. And so obviously we needed to allow for the swelling, even from that, if nothing else. But they are looking so much better. I got flat discs. Well, they're almost flat. They're slightly convex, not concave. Slightly convex, but they're so much flatter, so much closer to my skin. I already immediately felt a difference in terms of like, I can't feel them inside my nostrils anymore. I can move around and feel much more me. And then I went to like touch my eyes and there was nothing in the way and it was so good. Same with when I was washing my face. It was just like, it's already made life so much easier. So there's a little bit of pain now, a little bit of redness from having just gone through that yesterday. But I'm hoping that in the next couple of days, it should be much more back to normal. The piercer did say to leave them alone now because they've gone through a lot, and to just wait until the 6-month mark, which would be in another 4 months' time. So between 6 to 12 months is when I can hope to start to interchange them for the jewelry that I actually want, because these aren't even the ones that I'm hoping for eventually. I want ones that look like little screws, and I can't measure my nose for a cuff, which I'm hoping to get as well until everything is healed, everything's exactly as it should be. There's no swelling, there's no irritation, no even potential for those things to happen. And because these are a complicated piercing, similar to the industrial, it will take 6 to 12 months for them to fully heal back to absolutely zero. So for now, this is what I have for the rest of the either 6, 8, 12 month period. But I'm so much happier now because I feel like I'm actually able to move around and do life. Yeah, sure, they still stick up a little bit, but I don't mind that. Like it's so much less noticeable now, and it just feels so much more natural to just be. So hooray. So yeah, I thought I was gonna have to wait until the 12-week mark to even get to this. So the fact that I was able to get this after only 9 weeks is huge for me. I'm so stoked. And now I can just breathe, relax, and let them keep healing and naturally doing their thing for the remainder of the year. So that's kind of my final update, probably, until it's all done and good. The next update, I'm hoping, will be at the 6-month mark, probably. Weird. Kia ora, everybody. It is the 15th of January. What a time it has been. So as you can see, I'm wearing the same jewelry that I was wearing in my last post. It is coming up 6 months since my piercing on Monday, the 19th. So we're just a few days shy of that. But I was able to book in a consultation with a new piercer today. Long story short, I have been traveling. I'm in a different country now, so I'm unable to go to the same piercer that I went to last time. A little bit unexpected. Life has been a journey, but we're here. And yeah, this piercer is awesome. She had a look at my piercings. She said, we won't downsize today. High nostril piercings can actually take a really long time to heal. I do have a couple of updates for you guys with my piercing journey. About a month ago, I can't remember the exact day, but I'm gonna say roughly 5 months into the journey, maybe even like 4.5 months. Due to all of the traveling, I assume I had some flare-ups. So I think it started with the right side first. I can't actually remember, but basically one side flared up, had a bit of a lump, and it was like a pus-filled lump. It was a proper
proper flare up. That lasted a few days. Yeah, that was at like the beginning of December, I reckon, like 3rd or 4th of December that started happening. Lasted a few days. I made sure to keep it clean. I made sure to tend to it. And as it turned out, the best way. And I don't recommend this to everybody or anybody because I'm not a professional. Do not take your advice from me. But after a couple of days of it not easing up, I decided to express it myself. I made sure to clean everything before I did. I expressed it a bit. It bled a bit for a couple of days and then it went right down and healed up. As soon as that one healed up, then the other one flared up and the same thing happened. So it was another few days of that, expressed it, it bled, it came down. And then the other one flared up again. I was traveling this whole time. I've been on multiple flights, stayed in multiple different places of accommodation. I've been on road trips. It's been a whole time. It's been Christmas, you know, spending time with family and all that kind of stuff. So it's been wild and my nose has not enjoyed that process. So it's been a couple of weeks now since things have just settled down and been fine again. I made sure to tell the piercer this. She said, because you've had flare-ups so much recently, we're not going to touch them. But it was really helpful for her to have the backstory about everything that's been going on. She said the eventual goal is for both, you know, that I shared with her was to get them downsized a little bit more, make sure they match up, because even though the posts at the moment that I'm wearing are the same length, they appear to be different lengths in my nose. This one, I might show a close-up on the screen. This one is a little bit longer than this one. It could be just that my nose is a little bit different. There's like less space in this one, or it could be that they're at different angles because they are at slightly different angles. So we might only need to downsize one of them. And because I want to get what she called a bridle bar, other people call a nose cuff, because I want to get that custom made and fit to my nose, it's going to have to sit under the tops of the jewelry anyway. So we don't want to downsize the posts so much that there's no room to fit it. She said there needs to be 1 to 2 mils of space in there anyway, which this one is pretty much sitting at. So the goal is to maybe downsize this one, potentially that one as well, depending. She is going to order some jewelry for that, and then she will let me know when I can go in and get that downsized. She then said the downsizing process may cause some flare-ups. It might be, you know, we might have to kind of go back to square one a little bit. So we're just going to do that first, monitor that over the coming weeks or months after that. Then when they've been sitting there fine without any flare-ups for a couple of months, I think she said for 3 months, no flare-ups, then it'll be safe to wear a chain, just to get used to wearing something that can pull on them and can potentially catch, just so I get used to having that. Because she said wearing a chain is easier than wearing a bridle bar because the chain has a little bit of movement and flexibility, whereas the bridle bar is stiff, it doesn't have any leeway. So she said get used to wearing a chain first, then the next goal after that is to wear a bridle bar. So it's going to be a whole much longer process than I was anticipating, but I really feel that I am in good hands. She has been very well trained. She has a lot of accolades, you know, certificates and accomplishments under her belt. So I do feel that I am in really good hands with her. She seems to know what she's doing and what she's talking about. So that is the first goal for that. I also asked her about these lower piercings because it's probably visible to you guys on camera that they are 2 different sizes. They're at 2 different angles. They are not matched at all. One is slightly higher than the other one, but I think how high they are is not actually that different. It's just because this one was pierced straight with a gun back when I was 17. 20 years ago, what? And this one was like 10 years after that, 10 years ago at like a totally different angle. They now sit completely differently. This ring is a bigger size than this ring, bigger diameter, and they still sit weirdly and mismatched. So anyway, I discussed that with her. We discussed maybe getting this one re-pierced to match this one, but when she actually had a look at them and she drew a spot, she realized that it wouldn't have to be shifted that far. It would just be the angle that changes everything. And she said, I'm a bit concerned about piercing it so close to the hole that's already there because then it could rupture and it just might not work. So then we had a discussion about maybe what other things I want to have planned for my piercing journey. Maybe I want to add 2 extra piercings between these, which was kind of the plan when I went to get these top ones done. I did ask for them to be pierced as high up as possible so that if I wanted a third set in between, that there would be space. She did have a look at it and she said, yeah, I think there's room for that. I think we could do that. So that is a potential plan. And then once those are all done and healed in a long time, like in a couple of years probably after all this is settled down, then we can look at that, maybe potentially getting some mantis piercings, which is just like in here underneath, which could be cool. I don't know if I want that because I don't know how much I want to add to my face, but we'll see in the future whether that's something I want to do. And then she said, once you've got all that in your nose, you might not actually notice the difference between these nearly as much. And if I want to go back to wearing studs with a chain, that's going to be way less obvious than these two rings, which are completely different sizes and mismatched. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of information to throw at you guys. That is where my piercing journey is at thus far. I'm going to leave this video here because that has been a lot, and I thought this was going to be my last post, but it really isn't. I've realized there's going to be so much more of a journey to go. So I think this is where I'm going to leave this video. It's been long enough already. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And for the subsequent sessions that I have with this piercer, for the subsequent journeys that I go on with my piercings, I will be updating you as I go, and they will be in separate videos. But for now, I think this is where we're going to leave it. To be continued, I guess. And I had no idea it was going to be such a long journey, but I'm excited about it, and it's fun. It's self-expression, and these are the things we live for, right? Just being ourselves, expressing ourselves, having that freedom of independence and individuality, because fuck looking like everyone else, you know what I mean?